Welcome to Explain America. I'm your host, Kyle Becker. The Supreme Court is bringing the smackdown on lower court judges who think that they can overturn the rule of law and also ignore precedent from the nation's highest courts. This is really a warning shot that these rogue judges are going to have to heed. But before we get into this story, please like, share, and comment Explain America. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. One of the court's most conservative justices, Neil Gorsuch, just fired a warning shot at rogue judges who have consistently and at an unprecedented rate defied the highest court in the land and have also sought to undermine the Trump administration. Neil Gorsuch, in a ruling this week, said, and I quote, "Lower court judges may sometimes disagree with the court's decisions, but they are never free to defy them," unquote. Gorsuch also noted that it was the third time in a matter of weeks that this court has had to intercede in a case squarely controlled by one of its precedents. He added, when this court issues a decision, it constitutes a precedent that commands respect in lower courts. Wow, you don't really see that from the Supreme Court, but that is not mincing words. That is telling these rogue judges directly to their faces, knock it off. Because we really have a justice system in this country to have law and order, to have respect, not to have judicial activism and radical, just simply effrontery to the Constitution and to the laws in this country. So nobody elected these rogue judges to be co-presidents of the United States. Now, the decision was related to Trump's cancellation of nearly $800 million in federal research grants. Kavanaugh joined the opinion, which criticized a district court for disregarding an earlier Supreme Court order. Now, one of the things that came up in this case was that the judge, the rogue judge in this case, said that the cancellation of NIH grants related to DEI was simply racial discrimination. But nobody asked him for a Huffington Post editorial about what his personal views are about DEI and equity in this country. We have the rule of law, and he, as a judge, is duty-bound to follow the law. So we don't really care about his personal opinion. He has to follow the law. And we have representation in Congress and ways to handle our political differences that doesn't constitute rogue judges delivering their personal opinions from the bench. Right, Ketanji Brown Jackson? So other justices have criticized lower courts. In March, Justice Samuel Alito said a federal judge had committed an act of judicial hubris in a case involving another Trump policy. So this is not the first time that the Supreme Court has had to weigh in on rogue judges seeking to upend the rule of law. Just yesterday, an Obama judge, Paula Hinnis, intervened in the deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, someone who the courts have determined was an MS-13 gang member, and the courts have once again tried to stop the Department of Homeland Security from enforcing immigration law. Let's be clear here. Immigration law was passed through the United States Congress. This is the legitimate means of legislation in the United States. It is not through the judiciary branch where unelected so-called public servants get to interject their opinion into our political and legal processes. They need to stay out of it and enforce the law and do their job. So the Supreme Court, thank you for weighing in on this, but you're going to have to do more than simply issue commands to the lower courts, because I have a feeling these judicial activists, they're not done trying to throw monkey wrenches in their little judicial temper tantrum about President Trump being elected by a majority of the American people. So this has been Kyle Becker with Explain America. Please weigh in with your thoughts. We appreciate hearing from you.